Quest MuleSoft study group. We're going to go over OAS. Digital D, Diane Kessler, is going to be presenting today. And let's just go over a couple things before I turn things over to her. So let's see. All right. So first thing, just real quick, we haven't had any issues lately, but we just like to address if your mom and dad told you not to say it or not to do it, please don't do it. And everything will be great. We'll just roll right along. The challenge right now, I think a lot of people have already achieved this, but I just left this in here just in case somebody hasn't. But the challenge is the Agent Blazer Champion, just to go out there, obtain these skills. There's an awesome walkthrough on Integration Quest's YouTube playlist. You can go check it out. They'll walk you through, get you where you need to be, and you will get a lot of knowledge here. Like, it's a huge step in the future of dealing with agents and working them so where they can do work for you. It's awesome information. It's all on the trailhead. Super great to go through. There's the link to it, and this is where everything's going, so we don't want to bypass on this. There is other levels. The next level is the Innovator, and Legend just came available, so it is out there also. You can go get all these on the trailhead, and a lot of great knowledge. The only walkthrough that I know of on Integrations playlist is the Champion, and I'm thinking maybe in the future there's room for the next level, and we'll just get those out there, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Now we have some friends who've done the Innovator. There's some recordings. Shreven has got a recording on the Innovator.
Good.
And you recently did Innovator. I think all of us
did. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that. So yes, there is some walkthroughs on Shreven's YouTube page, and I did get stuck on some stuff on Innovator. I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't, because I hit a wall. I went out. Shreven just got me right through it. He was awesome, and I can't say enough about his little video that he had. I found the very thing that I was having trouble with. You can just search it on YouTube, and it comes right up. So yeah, go check it out. And I'm looking forward to getting after a Legend. I don't know.
Now in terms of content, that's all helpful. I'm gonna flip it around the other way though. I will admit today, August 15th, 2025, I don't have Agent Blazer Legend yet.
Really?
If any of you guys want to try to beat me,
yes,
I haven't yet. So I'm setting out, brag about it. If you can beat me to the punch.
We just upped the challenge. The initial challenge was Champion, and now we're saying, all right, who can get Legend first?
Before me, right? I'd love to give you some recognition.
All right, there you go.
Game on.
There it is.
Well, it's funny because so Ryan got Champion before me, and I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I got Innovator before him. So we've got a tie rolling between you and I, Ryan. So I'm going to conquer that one.
That was very kind of you. Champion is a lot easier than Innovator. So
it was hard.
When you beat me to that one, it's a bigger achievement.
Well, and the Innovator had, when we did it, because we did it right when it came out, now it's matured, but Innovator had some real problems with it at first.
It's nice
but they got some of that cleared up.
It is, yeah. I didn't see any of that, and actually I saw some notes where they had fixed that, so that was nice to get past that. This is just showing where Salesforce did change their certifications up. Go check it out. And they did change some things around, but they made things a lot easier. So in order to stay certified, it is just simply a trailhead on a lot of their certifications, whereas before it was a lot harder. And I'm just thankful to see those changes in the right direction. And just basically, why do we want to get certified? It's so that way we can prove that we know the job. It's not just for getting a job. You could already have a job in this. It's just so that way you can give yourself confidence, give yourself some more information, and you can get out there and get the job done better. Simple as that. And let's go ahead and turn this over to Digital D, to Diane Kessler. Her success story is that she's got a lot of credentials. She's done a lot of things, and she's going to tell us some things about OAS today. I'm looking forward to learning. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure being here. So welcome, everybody. As you know, and truly it is my favorite tool to use. I prefer myself to use Ramel. I'm just so used to it and have gotten, very comfortable with with designing in it and working with it. However, we have observed and learned and even asked the questions, what's going to happen with RAML versus OAS? We're seeing that OAS is kind of taking a step forward as far as the ecosystem is concerned in MuleSoft. And it actually is taking a step forward. And so RAML's not going to go away anytime soon, but OAS is an industry standard specification language, formerly called Swagger, been around a long time. And so there is more of a shift of focus in using that. And in addition to not only, the MuleSoft preferences in using it, there are reasons behind that. And I'm going to share some of that with you, or at least I should say suspected reasons behind it. So we'll start our in Design Center. And as you know, we can use RAML for our specifications, but also Anypoint Platform does support Swagger as well. Both of them are supported in Anypoint Platform. Yes, Ryan, go ahead.
So the reasons, and I think a lot of people are curious. Do you have a time that you've set aside for that later in this, or because I think getting motivated to why would I use it is an important thing. If you're not going to include that later, we could do that now.
Oh, I'm including it.
Okay, great.
Maybe it's all part of the presentations, and then we're going to go hands-on.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. You betcha. We got to know the why.
I'm one of the skeptical few. I need to be convinced, so that's why I'm speaking up.
Good. That is good. Okay, so we're going to find out the what. This is the where. The where is that we can use Design Center. We can use OAS to create our specifications. And also the visual editor is a great place to start. I'm going to have some of you walk through that with me if you want to be hands-on. So in the meantime, log into Anypoint Platform, have that ready. If you don't have an account available, go ahead and do a quick trial account. But at any rate, any Design Center does have the support for both of the languages. We have a choice when we create a design. And but for more information of the what, there is, like I said, most of us are going to be pretty proficient in RAML because it's what we've grown up on in the MuleSoft ecosystem in our journey. But OAS has been kind of like, oh, yeah, we know we can have it, but we've really not dove into it. A few years ago, I had a client I was doing training for, and they requested OAS. So I dug in, and not that I'm an expert, because I certainly am not, but I do have more of an understanding of it. And also, too, another thing that was present on one of the state projects that I was on is we were pulling COBOL playbooks out of a legacy system, and guess what? It was coming out in Swagger. So it's out there in the industry. You're going to see it and come across it. So this link for Open API specification, I urge you to check out the website. There are tutorials here that are really helpful, but I'm going to show you how you can get more familiar with it from the MuleSoft side, from the Anypoint Platform side. So when we go in to create a specification, we have a choice. And so this is where we can choose the language we want to use to create an API. And in regards to that, it has a different structure, but it is still going to look the same in Design Center as we're working with it. And as we like with RAML, so I'm going to do some parallel comparisons, but then also break away into some more details there. Keeping an eye on the chat here. Oh, really? Yeah. Interesting, Maxim. Hasn't been using RAML for the past 2 to 3 years. Yeah. So again, some of the documentation that comes through as we're working with this, but you'll still see that same, API console as a result of RAML, like in this case, it's our patient API in OAS. So we have we still have the resources. However, in RAML, they're called paths. Okay, so I'm giving you visuals right now. Then we'll turn around and go hands-on. So like in our case with RAML, we normally have that resource, right under all of our titles and details, but it comes under a category called paths. And then from there, notice I've got, again, descriptions like I would under RAML, because we want to have it nicely documented as we bring this into even as a into Exchange, or even in, as the connector itself. So again, you can see the nested resource. We've got our nested resource here with the curly braces, the identifier of that URI parameter. So again, there are some similarities, so it's not terrible for that transition. Okay. So we have our method resource pairs. Now, again, when you go to use this in Studio or Anypoint Code Builder, it's going to take your specification and use the API Kit router. It works just the same in a Mule app to create our interface to be used in our application itself. So that portion of it will hold true. Now, when it comes to the responses, we have responses and we have components. So again, some terminology differences here, schemas, a reference, you can reference some of it. So there is reusable code here. As we are looking at, I'm going to give you this whole code block and let you bring it into Studio or into Design Center and be able to take a look at this. So in our coming down the list, we've got our paths, we've got our resource, and then we've got our method, and then we start defining our response. And as we come down, we've got under our content where we're defining, instead of body, that would be a body in RAML, and we come down and it's considered, the terminology is content. We're telling it application JSON, and then we're saying, hey, you're going to use a schema. Okay, so the schema again is what's somewhat different as far as that's concerned. Now, down below in your code, you'll see in the code that I'm going to share with you, down below is an area called the components. Okay, and so this is where your schema is. Now, just like with RAML, you can have your schema inline, and you'll see it, defined inline. And when it's in line, it's, just like kind of how we refer to inline versus a fragment of code, and we bring in the fragments and reference them. So this is similarly addressing that, in that we have our schema is defined down below. And then in our code, we can reference where that's at in the code block itself. But generally, thus far, personally, I have not seen where OAS would have additional folders like we do in RAML at all. Does seem to me to be, I stand corrected if I'm not right on that, but seems to be all part of the primary code block. Okay, all within one. So anyway, here is a view of the inline parameters defined. Here is showing reusability down there in the components down below. Let me go grab that. Hang on a second. Let me go get that code quick for you. I should have been logged on before, but So let me grab this real quick, and then we will. I'll share it with you all.
I appreciate you sharing what you shared, Maxim. That's good to know that you could see this in other places.
Okay, so here is the code I'm referring to. I'm going to pop it in a code share for y'all. So if you want to grab it, fine with me. And you can go ahead and put it into Design Center so you can be, kind of observing what's being used here. And you'll have an example of OAS. So code shares coming in the chat. There you go. Okay, so you can kind of see, like I said, even if you look at it in Design Center, there's not a lot of additional folders over here, like we have when we have our data types or examples or security, that type of thing. It's all kind of, in the main block, but I am referencing. Okay, so I have a reference here to down below, and that's under the components, which, let me get my shelf knocked down there. Okay, down here, I've got a reference to even my client ID and client secret. So this one is actually set up with the security additional code snippet for the client ID, client secret enforcement. So, but then you hit the components area down here, and this is where there's parameters defined, there are schemas defined, the examples are in line, and you can see, everything is kind of, to me is a little bit of a challenge because everything's like in a block of code. And I've always liked having those little offset fragments. And, architecturally, we talk about those fragments having benefits for, data modeling and things like that. But anyway, we've got to consider what else this is offering. So with the code, once you get it populated in, it's going to look the same in your API console over here. You can do patience and get and try it, and you're getting your data back. So it's all having that same look and feel that we're used to. When this gets published to Exchange, likewise in Exchange, it's going to be a similar experience with them there, and when we bring it into Studio, as I mentioned. But these reusable, like the patience array, for example, notice my patience array, so that I don't have to define that array multiple times. I have a reference to the original schema up here of patient. Whereas this one's a single object, I don't have to have the array defined. So again, a little bit of, reusability there in referencing, using that reference. So that ref really helped to kind of have some of that identified out. So again, we've got inline on this. We've got reuse code with the reference path there. All right. So why does this matter? Ryan wants to know. Okay, these are the query parameters. I'm going to click through some of this pretty quickly here, kind of keeping an eye on our time to watch our time frame. Then we publish to Exchange. Everything populates there beautifully. No problems there. And so all of it ends up being, just kind of what we've seen before. So no differences there. Now, drum roll. This is what we were talking about. Why does it matter? Why do we really need to be using, OAS? Is this a big deal? What's the scoop? Okay, here's the big scoop. This is the why. Ryan, the moment you've been waiting for is because when we use OAS, when we are, whether it's in Anypoint Code Builder or Design Center, it is Agentic ready. It is setting us up with the tags already pre-built into it to go ahead and populate that into Salesforce, ready for the agents to use. So what that means is, as we are using that and bringing that through, let me bring up my Anypoint Code Builder, and I have these, this populated in. Let me give it a second for it to warm up because it's loading in. In our code itself, you have the tags for the setup for the agents, the agent topic, the tagging, the actions. So the actions and the topics all within Salesforce are present as a result of it being OAS code. Now, many people have asked me, can I still use my RAML specifications to populate an API into the API catalog and use it in topics and actions? The answer is partly. Okay, so when we have a specification, or I should say, when we have a asset in Exchange that is originally created in RAML, what we can do, let me find me one here. Okay, what we can do is when the specification is complete, and this one is a RAML. I can view the code. I think it's RAML. Pretty sure. Nope, that was a test. Okay, let me go to the patients. We got a lot of patient APIs in here now. So, which is good. This means we've been busy teaching. And here's my RAML one. Okay, so this one is definitely RAML. And so what you would do if you have RAML specifications out here is the one part you can do to populate this into your Salesforce API catalog is tag it here. Okay, so it doesn't have to be OAS for this tagging to work. But what you do need to do is you would have to create your API topic and action on the Salesforce side. However, the code I shared with you, now that code that I shared with you is not Agentic design. The code I shared with you first, the patient one, is
you're meaning when you say Agentic, though, I just want to, because I've been doing a little research myself. This is specifically about Salesforce Agentforce agents.
That is correct.
I got it. Yeah.
Yep. That's correct.
I mean, I think there's another OAS advantage because I went to a We Dreamin' in Dallas last week, and I was talking to a Microsoft guy about how much I liked Agentforce, and I was thinking that not a lot of other vendors have it, and he was saying, well, Microsoft's got agents, and they're called virtual agents, and virtual agents, if you want to give them tools, they have to use OAS. They don't support any RAML. So that's this is not only what you're saying about compatibility cross platforms begins to be even more of a powerful story, but it's not about those tags. It's much more fundamental. It's like there is no RAML in the Microsoft world.
Right. That's true. That's
so
true.
Even more of
work at all.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I haven't even looked to see what people besides Microsoft are doing. There's probably even more agent stacks out there. I mean, I know MCP doesn't require a OAS at all. So it certainly is nice though that your normal API catalog that you're not making for agents can be more easily given to agents.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's a great point to point out, that there are other agent specifications out there that are OAS. They're using OAS industry-wide. And so that's why it's important for us to learn it. And also, too, we will hear on the MuleSoft side, I'm already hearing the questions. What are we going to do with our RAML? Well, you can still use the RAML and then just tag your API for the API catalog, and it'll appear in Salesforce for you to use as an asset in Salesforce as well as for your agents, but you would have to manually create your topic and your actions like you see in the Agent Blazer Challenge. We do that in the Agent Blazer Challenge. So hands-on keyboard for that, you'd have it. Now, the what I want to point out to you here is another code share I shared with you, and this is from one of our workshops for the Salesforce workshops that show you that we have the tags and details in your specification of the agent topic right there. You see it? And then also down here is the action. And when you do that manually, that process manually, you have to, have all this configured, including your input parameters, your output parameters, user input. Those of you who have done it, you know what I'm talking about. If you end up going down that path, you'll see that you have to do all this manually. And that gets pretty tedious, So by using OAS, this allows, it will auto-populate that for you. So, and it would also have the tag for the API catalog and the other tag that you would be looking for. Now, it won't matter for this one because this is RAML. So it will not create it, but the other tag is SF-API-topic. Okay, so that would be the other tag that you will see when one has been populated through the AP, through Anypoint Code Builder and through the automatic tagging of it being in on the Salesforce side. So the one that is set up is the EMS transport. And you'll see the 2 tags that automatically, were populated with that one. So again, the code shares that I've shared with you, one of them is just straight up OAS, so you can kind of get familiar with what the code itself looks like. And then the other is the one that has the topic details. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of this category because it's used in a couple different meaningful ways. Number one, the description, the classification description is what the Atlas reasoning engine uses to determine when it has different actions associated with an agent. It needs to know when you give it a natural language prompt, it needs to determine what action am I going to use. And so when it takes that information from, if you don't have a good description, it may not be utilized as much. So your description really matters. Also, your instructions. Your instructions are your guardrails. This is where you're going to be specifically telling the agent what it can and can't not do. And people are, bringing up, how secure is this? What are we looking at? Well, it's only as secure as your guardrails. Your guardrails are your instructions. There should be some do nots. Look at the never confirm a reservation. There are some do nots and nevers, and so that part is very important. So my recommendation is to make, for your organization, your industry, make a template of your instructions to make sure that you're not overlooking some kind of vulnerability that could present itself. Okay. Back to getting your hands on. Let's go hands on. I wanted to be sure to point out to you that, of course, we can publish from Anypoint Code Builder. We publish to Exchange as well, and that's where the natural tagging is taking place. And the details of following through are in our workshops. We've got several of them recorded on the Integration Quest YouTube channel of taking and activating these endpoints once you're in API catalog, and then having them to be used, and you see that the information transferred over into the agent topic details and its actions. So we want to use automation as much as possible in our specifications, and that's the why behind OAS coming. Like Ryan mentioned, had a great point in regards to other agent platforms are using OAS. We also have the ability to use OAS and RAML in our world, and likely we're going to, we need to get more familiar with it, as we go forward too, as far as OAS is concerned. So what I want to show you is, basically really how can you get hands-on to learn more about, OAS and, transitioning from RAML to OAS. So I'm going to go back to that one specification that I have that is the patient API in RAML. And I want to show you, of course, I could show you on the Design Center side or viewing the code, it's clearly RAML. Okay. But you can download specifications into a generated OAS. All right. So I do recommend that you check that out if you want to really look at the comparisons between the two. So that's number one of the things I wanted to show you. And this is what it looks like on that conversion I just did. So this took my RAML. We can see the responses here. We can see the example data being populated in, coming all the way down. There's the post. Now this is inline. See how it's inline in your code? So that's considered to be inline. And then we've got, I don't think this one references anything. I think it's just going to be straight up not using that reusability that I shared with you. But another feature you can do that I do think is real valuable, and this is where you're going to get hands-on to start you off using OAS. So get hands-on here and get into Design Center. And we're going to start off with a pretty simple example, but you're going to walk away saying, I created my first OAS code. Okay. But we're going to cheat a little bit. It's okay. It's okay to cheat just a little. So we're going to do a create here. Okay. Click on create. And we're going to create a new specification. All right. So I can't do the green check here to see where you're at with this, but stay with me and maybe give a thumbs up or some kind of an emoji as we're going through this. All right, so we're going to create a new project. It's going to be an invoice API. Okay, so for our invoice API. And okay, sounds good. We're going to change from RAML to OAS 3 JSON. Okay, OAS 3 JSON. And however, we don't even need to select that. Rewind that. We're going to do the guide me through it. All right. And some people, surprisingly, when I do this, some people don't even know it exists. All right. So this is going to be the visual interface in Design Center, and it will side by side create RAML and OAS. And I think when I was learning OAS, I found this to be pretty darn valuable for me to kind of understand how it was coming together. So we're going to do the guide me through it. We're not choosing OAS. Click on create API. So this is the visual interface. And it's going to look totally different. Probably something you may not have experienced before. Okay. And so it's kind of like, we've got a graphical interface here, but over on the right, notice we've got RAML and we've got OAS. Okay. RAML, OAS. So you've got a great learning platform here to start with. So we're going to click on to different folders on the left here to be able to, build out our specification to a certain degree. We've got a little time here. So, all right. So in the API summary, we're going to start there. And the title of it is Invoices API. All right. Come over to the version. We're going to do lowercase v1, meaning that's the major version 1. You can see it's already populating some details on the OAS side. Let's peek at the RAML. Okay, so that's familiar to us. We see how this is looking over here. Protocols, HTTP. And the media type, we're going to go ahead and set to JSON. Okay, again, nothing much changed here. RAML is documenting it. All right, that's fine. They're both going to have their own little way of doing something. We're going to come over on the left-hand side now, and we're going to define our data types. Okay, we're going to start off defining a data type. So come over here and click on the plus. And our first data type is going to be invoice. Okay. And now notice RAML. RAML's on it. We're used to creating types in RAML. So it's already on it and putting the details in there. We've got some properties to add to. Let's look at OAS. Ooh, nothing's happening there. Huh. Are you doing it? I am so surprised because you are always been one to say, no, you go through and learn it. And he's doing AI over there. You're doing the LLM. Okay, so over here, we're going to add a property. Okay, so we just have, look at our RAML. It's auto-generating this. It's an invoice is the type that it is, and it's an object. Okay, so click on add property. Okay, first property we're going to add is invoice ID. Okay, invoice ID. It's required and it is a string. That's fine. And now notice down below that it's starting to build out our example. Okay, our example. And so for an example, we'll go ahead and do INV 1, 2, 3. Oh, come on. You're going to let me do this, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, so click the edit on the far right there. Okay, so now we want to do INV 1, 2, 3 as an example for our invoice number. All right, and that holds true. We're pretty familiar with that. Now, normally we would have import, include and reference that file and that type of thing. And yeah, you would think it would be, wouldn't you? Watch. It's not. Isn't that weird? It's not there. I know. I'll give you a hint. It doesn't show up until you have a path. All right. So let's add another property. And the next one is going to be account ID. Okay. And on this one, we'll add another example here. Oh, come on. It should be inheriting it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, I got a typo. Y'all didn't tell me I have a typo. It is very eager to please. Honestly, when I was learning RAML or OAS a few years ago before I taught it, I came in here and really started narrowing down the association between RAML and OAS. That helped me to wrap my head around it. And so it did help in regards to that. I think I can add an example over here too. Yeah. So I forgot about that. I've been editing the examples, but on each one of them, if you go invoice ID and do the little details here, you can add that example down here. So that first one is INV 1, 2, 3. There it is. Now it's populating. Okay. And you can override it with the edit icon down here, but this is easier. And then this one is going to be ACC T 5, 6, 7, something like that. All right. So now we've got the examples populating into our types of the invoice here. I'm not going to go too far off. I'm running out of time fast. Again, not a thing happening over there on the OAS side. Not that it won't, because it will. Okay, so now let's go. Yeah, I would say for for RAML, and we did when we do training. What we do use it. I know that one of the companies do that I work with closer. But anyway, and I'm answering a question in the chat, by the way. So if you're watching this recording and I'm randomly saying comments, question was,
please repeat the question.
I was just going to say, the question was, do you have MuleSoft clients that actually use Anypoint Design Center? And I do believe that several of the ones that I do. Yeah.
Now, our clients generally have us explaining to them how to do the API lifecycle, so it's not an accident that they do. We teach them how to do it, and then they do it.
Right. What's your alternative? What do you use? Anypoint Code Builder, or you?
I mean, you want me to answer it, or in a chat, or I mean, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, in my ecosystems, it's usually doesn't really matter where the specification comes from. It's becoming part of the lifecycle in the end, so it's been cataloged in the Anypoint Exchange. But the design process can happen. It really depends on the team, on the domain, and I've seen this by multiple clients. Right, so maybe like 0.5% would be using the design center, but many are using already established tooling. Could be Postman, could be Swagger, could be anything like code first generated spec, and which is then published into Exchange.
So you're bringing
Just
it
my
into
experience.
Exchange already created, correct?
Usually, yeah. Well, there are
Yeah.
multiple ways how it lands there, but usually from the catalog, this is where it starts. In my case,
Interesting.
I'm not saying Design Center is not valuable. It is.
No. But I guess it's a good place. You know, I could see the benefit of, even if it's created someplace else, to populate it into there for the purpose of publishing to Exchange and all that for, you know, so yeah, like Ryan's doing LLM to create his specifications. And so he's going to just pop it in there and available. But yeah, it's interesting.
I'm still preparing my surprise. You're not exactly what you think.
Oh, okay. All right. So next we're going to go to the resources. Now this is where things change. So under the resources, we'll go ahead and go into this tab. And this is where we start, you know, having a difference. Okay. So we're going to put our resource path is invoices. I'm sorry. And we're going to do the get request on that. And we can have a description in here if need be. And again, there are some query parameters and everything. Thank you, Madonna. Great to see you. And so once we start having this in, come on, and we defined our responses, we can add our response, and it is going to be an array, JSON array. So we just kind of are clicking through some of this, and you can add other, you know, response codes, things like that. And then of course we can associate it with our items type when we add the body. No, not that one, not that one. To add our type here, items type would be actually string. Yeah, stop. Hang on a second, it's getting there. I don't know why it's misbehaving. Come on. All right, my screen is not behaving, but it's not important at this point. I'm going to go forward because it should let us add a particular type, and it's giving us a, there we go. Okay, now it's opening. All right. So under our items type, this is going to be an array here, and we can start adding the different items in the nested in there. Now, when we go to OAS, we can see that it populated in some of the information. And I've got that duplicated for an array and items type. So at any rate, for lack of time to try to wrap at a good time here, you can now see in OAS the different structure versus RAML. Okay. And I'm going to take that one out. Yeah, there's the array. Then you can add the array fields, etc. Through there. But once you have worked with this a little bit and start adding even your security schemes and various things like that, you can see where it will land in your OAS code. So, and then what you can do, either download it, be able to have it available like that, or the other thing too is you can go ahead and move it into Design Center and keep it as OAS. So you can click on OAS here, and you're coming out of the visual editor and going into the text editor. And once you do come out of that, you're pretty much locked into OAS at this point. Okay. So again, there would be your code, and you can kind of start building it. And this is editable, so you can, you know, change it around according to what you would want to actually have. So to recap back on what we were sharing, you know, at the beginning, OAS is on the rise. We do want to be aware of that and the benefit that it brings on the Salesforce side for it to populate and provide us with the agent ready specifications. And that part is essentially, you know, by using a specification and creating a designing an API. Let me close these up quick. When you come in Anypoint Code Builder, by clicking this at the beginning of a specification, that's going to set it up for that automatic tagging. And you do have to have the supporting specification pieces to for it to pass the governance rule set for an Agentic ready specification. So anyway, just wanted to share some of that. And Ryan's got something he's cooking up over there. I've got to keep an eye on the time frame here, but now you got me really curious. So let me stop my sharing here. What are you doing, Ryan?
Well, there was something about OAS that I really wanted to figure out after something Max put in the chat about references, because if the OAS spec appears to support fragments that are remote, and the spec does. I just went and looked at the spec, so I could share that. And what we're talking about, so fragments are a thing I've loved about RAML for a long time, being able to have reuse of binary stuff. Like, so I was just looking through here. So I made a couple of fragments. What I was doing on the side here, I made this is in the IQ.
Show the code. Show the code. What's the code look like?
Well, I was trying to see what it would look like in Exchange, which would be the mode of sharing it, right? So
yeah, that's what I mean. You could share the code from Exchange. Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Now.
So well, this is an API. So there's two sides of the dependency that I want to figure out what Anypoint supports based on this, right? One side is the providing of fragments, and the other side is the consumption of fragments. Which side is which, right? So on the consumption side, I was just now trying to find one that I could refer to on the internet, you know, to see. So it looks like this one has this, whatever this is. I wanted to find an example of a remote fragment because I want to see if MuleSoft supports remote fragments. I don't know if it does, right? And I really don't know the answer. I didn't get that far, so we're finding out now.
Okay. Do you remember we tried this one time and they said that it should and it didn't? That was like a year or so ago, because we did try something like this. It may not be this particular one.
I mean, this looks like it does, right?
Good.
Here it is in the documentation. I didn't put any of this stuff, right? This all came from the remote fragment. So apparently APIs can refer to remote fragments. That's a good start. Also, I'm wondering if fragments can also themselves refer to other remote fragments, right? So the recursive question, I haven't answered that question yet. And then the more important thing is I want to see if I can provide remote fragments with Anypoint platform. So I created a couple of these.
That looked like a URL, didn't it?
Yeah, it is a URL. Right? Now, in order for it to work, I would have to make it a public API. So, you know, in Anypoint, you can share a API. This is a data type. You can share APIs on the public portal.
Right.
Like this, right? I can go to public, I can make it public, and now anybody can link to my API spec, right? My API portal. I don't know if they can link to my API spec, but my portal definitely, right? So I went to see if I could do that with fragments, and I published an OAS fragment, and I published a REST fragment. That's why I was using the LLM, is I wasn't trying to learn about the language itself. I wanted to learn about dependencies, right?
How to do this.
So I made both of them, and I had a disappointment. Like, I can't share fragments, RAML or OAS.
I know.
Portal. So how how can I have somebody in Postman link to my, or even across business groups, or even across different Anypoint orgs? How are we going to?
What about a base URL? What about a base URL?
Well, I can do APIs, but I can't. But fragments are chunks, right? They don't have URLs, right? They're just like
what are they doing that other then?
Here, I'll show you what I put in my example fragments was this is where the LLM decided to go way overboard. But I made an OAS fragment here for vital signs because the IQ education, we have a whole emergency response thing that we do for our tests, right? So I made one that was like a vital sign recording, and the LLM went to town. Look at all this stuff. It really made me a big fragment. So I didn't need all of that for what I was doing, but it's okay. Whatever.
Is this a fragment or a whole definition?
That looks like a definition, doesn't it? Paths,
Well,
components.
Maybe I didn't know the syntax in OAS for making. How would I do? Just this much? Just say schemas?
Yeah.
Well, maybe just one object. I think. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
like type, right?
Just starting, just like a REML.
Maybe you can copy the one that you referenced by the URL and just paste it here.
Well, yeah, because this has many schemas. This fragment has a bunch of schemas in it, so it could be my syntax is not good. However, I'm not going to find out if I can't even link to it.
Like go down to your components, see how it's referencing. Look at your first reference.
Yeah,
Scroll down to your first. No,
Yeah.
Go down. Down.
Yeah,
Move
so
your shelf.
like
Get your
this,
shelf
right?
and your project areas out of the way.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, and now look at the first reference. Go to your, okay, look, components. So
Yeah.
that's where a reference would pick up on. Go
Yeah,
down right there. Components.
I don't even
schema.
need these responses, right? They can get out of there.
Right. Yeah.
So
Component.
each one of those should be a fragment, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
paths and don't you think, Max,
So let's
that,
just do that.
right. And guys, I got to drop. I'm sorry. I got to get back in class.
Oh no. Okay. Well, we'll finish up. RJ will do the
And-
paperwork at the end.
Yeah, we understand. Go to your class. Thank you for presentation. That was great. I learned a lot.
Excellent. Great to see you all.
Thanks,
and
Dan.
I'll watch the rest of the recording. Think about it,
Okay.
Maxim, for next time.
Cool.
So I
Cheers.
think this is now a more realistic fragment, probably, right? So I could publish a new version of it.
It's
the root-
in OpenAPI. I don't think it's called fragments. It's like references.
Well,
Components.
that
It's components. You reference components.
So it said, yeah, the root file must be a fragment file, but how do I know what that is? So is there a language thing I'm missing? Like I need to put components at the top or something?
Yeah, in my case, I honestly don't know because I haven't done it that way. So what we've been doing at some clients is kind of define all these components, but not as exchange artifacts, kind of somewhere in a different catalog, and then they are being part of the API definition. So like different files, separate files.
Files, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to
I see,
accomplish
yeah.
is binary artifact releases for the fragments, so which is
Yeah.
what I knew. I want to do that for more like governance of like canonical models and stuff.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I mean, with RAML, I know how to do it, and it's
How
a
do you-
design center dependency. It's not.
How do you define a fragment in Exchange? If you click that plus, what do you?
Mhm.
Oh, no.
The plus?
I mean, right? You can create a fragment, right?
Yeah, this is the design center project. Is I had done that when Diane was presenting. So you can create a fragment project, and RAML you say what it is, but OAS it's just a specification component, which is I think the word you used, right?
Yeah.
So my new component, right?
Right.
But this is not an exchange yet.
No.
It's just source code.
Mhm.
So I guess it gave me all this header stuff, which
Well,
seems
let's just add a component, and that's it. And we'll see if we can reference.
yeah. So experiment component like that,
Uh,
and then
I would copy something from an existing one.
yeah,
I
that's
don't remember.
where my inexperience with OAS.
It's honestly I never remember that. I always copy paste. Like I've been doing this for years, and it's
Mhm.
When I
I
go
don't
do
remember
a
the syntax.
when I go do a Google search, I just Google searched OAS fragment example.
Yeah.
It's given like on the first page. I can share it if you want. It's given like some code, and it's saying sort, and then drops down to a bunch of different things. So maybe, I mean, I'm asking because I don't know. Is any point being picky and wanting this very thing that I'm looking at here? I could.
Here's what I'll do. I found
Sure.
this public GitHub repo. Anyway, and I can just take the fragment in here. And that
Yeah.
sure looks a lot like, this looks very much like RAML fragments to me. It's just different language because it's OAS. But if I publish this, right,
That looks like what I'm looking at. Yeah.
I get an error.
Huh. That's weird.
Library, data type. So it's like something about the way Anypoint does OAS fragments is something I still need to learn. But I think
Yeah.
where I went with this whole thing is I was trying to understand if we could use Anypoint as a repository for fragments that other systems can refer to. You know, so I can publish my fragments into Exchange, and then other stuff can use them. And so far, I haven't seen that that's possible because you can't make them public. Right? There's public for APIs, but there's no public for fragments. See? Which
it's not so new that it shouldn't be there. It should be there.
Yeah, I think that the platform doesn't support it, and I don't know why it doesn't support it. Right? So what that means to me is you have to use Anypoint fragments internally to Anypoint, right? And you don't get to use them like in a enterprise that's got other API catalogs.
Mhm.
There's no cross dependencies, which is too bad.
So now I have a challenge for myself too, right? So now so I'm dealing with APIs. I'm not able to answer that. So, okay.
Yeah, I'd love to know the answer. Yeah, but anyway, you guys definitely inspired some curiosity, RJ. I have questions to answer for myself. So I didn't share my screen because I have a solution.
That's what we're all doing. We're all here learning, man. I've got stuff that I need to learn, obviously, and yeah, this is great. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to show real quick what I was looking at, but it doesn't mean that it's the right thing. This is what I was, check it out here. So this is when I searched the OAS fragment example, this is what it was showing. And then this is more so what you were putting in. So I was just curious, like, is it looking for this? See, I don't know the verbiage.
It was letting me publish to Exchange with the second format.
Right.
But it was not letting me publish to Exchange with the first format, even though all of us seem to think the first format is the valid one.
But that would be something like Anypoint logic itself, right? It's not OpenAI. OpenAPI, because OpenAPI fragment is just a piece of, it's like a macro, right? There is no logic. It just includes.
It's just text, right? It's very.
Which is it's an include basically.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Well, definitely. A lot of stuff to learn. We got questions and answers. That was the next slide that I had to share. We got questions. We need to find the answers. We need to figure out what they're looking for, don't we?
Hi, Fing. Hi, Eric. We have a couple people who came in the middle. So welcome, glad you're here.
Finn,
if you have any experience to offer or additional questions, we would love to include it.
Finn is
hello,
here.
everybody.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I joined quite late, but the title of this study group was pretty intriguing to me, so I wanted to catch it, make sure I at least could capture the recording. The only thing that jumped out at me is I was curious if you were having issues. I wonder if even though you're creating a fragment, this seems counterintuitive to me, so I hope I'm wrong. But I'm wondering if because even though you're creating a fragment, you have to create a main file that then references your fragment file within that, and then you publish that, and then that would allow you to pull that fragment in later. I don't think that would be the case, but seems like it would just be redundancy. But I'm curious if that's why it was mad.
Just to get through the Design Center publication wall.
Right. Like, all your RAML files have that RAML 1.0 at the top. And then when you initially created that OpenAPI, it had the OpenAPI 3.0 at the top.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if when you were trying to create the fragment and you didn't have a reference to either of those, if that was in a root file, if that was what was causing the problem. But.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. And I know MuleSoft also has an API catalog CLI tool for importing OAS. So another route to try would be, can I publish to Exchange with that instead of with Design Center? So those would be two on my list if I only set aside 90 minutes for today's study group. So that won't be today.
we see a part 2 in the future.
Yeah. So, wow, this
Awesome.
was a fun one, man. Well done, RJ.
Definitely some good stuff to learn. Yeah, that was all Digital D. I'm just here just hosting it up. So I'm glad that she presented that. I'm putting that in the list of things to learn more about for sure, because it looks like as everything is coming at us, we need to learn it to stay caught up with the new stuff that's coming through.
Yeah.
I like it. The last thing that I had to share was this right here. We're just letting everybody know that Dreams is October 14th to the 16th. So if anybody can be there, if anybody is wanting to attend, there it is.
On that one, I think
What's up?
I don't know if Diane is going. Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say. I don't want to
Yeah.
misspeak. Yeah.
I had decided I wasn't going until now. I'm probably gonna go the 12th to the 14th because
Cool.
of there's some Mac project. There's only like very few opportunities for the AI chain project people to meet in person. So I might go out there for the beginning just for that.
well, that's good. So people could show up 14 to 16, see you the one day, and attend the rest.
Oh,
There
there's
you
so
go.
many. It's always a blast. But a lot of MuleSoft community stuff happens the Monday before. So
Awesome.
if you guys didn't know that, I would suggest coming in Saturday night or Sunday night for the MuleSoft people.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Mhm.
A lot of fun and a lot of learning. Good deal. Well, if nobody else has anything else to share, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And let's see here.